Now I would give you a little intro to the whole topic itself. So what is a cyborg? What does cyborg-centered design mean? And especially how we defined it in our master thesis, because cyborg-centered design was a term which was already used, and we also defined it a bit within our master thesis, and that's why where I wanna go on. I think I jumped over that the general Monday intro with the welcome words, and we also did the getting to know each other now, and the little introduction task. So this is just prepared some screens for the tasks. Maybe quickly, generally, how the week is planned. So we have now this welcome part, and starting now with the Cyborg lecture. And in the afternoon, I thought about it would be nice to have a little bit of warm-up task, and we will go then a little bit deeper into the topic of future thinking. So thinking about speculative things in the future, and the theory behind that. And as trend research is a huge part of designing for the future, this would be also a task, a blocker in the end, and then it will go as we are running. I was not sure with the timing, so we can define how we're gonna end the day. And Tuesday we're gonna go a little bit deeper. I will explain what the futures cone exactly is, but that we will work a little bit, and we will go then into defining on what kind of scenario do we want to work on. So we're going to choose a specific scenario and topic and cyborg, and we'll work on that. And we go then a bit into the topic of debating and discussing about cyborgs and what we created, and then the rest of the day will be defined mostly working sessions and exchange sessions about our little cyborg project we want to come out in the end of this week, and that Friday is presentation day. This is now a little bit abstract, but I hope the picture clears within now the lectures and within the next steps. So the first thing is the cyborg-centered design intro, and we called it in our master thesis from human-centered to cyborg-centered design. So it implicates a little bit a movement or a switch, and what is this exactly means, I gonna try to explain now. But first of all, where does the cyborg topic come from? So we used to optimize as humans. We used to optimize ourselves since the early years, and we were using tools, for example, in the early ages to create new objects, and we worked with stones and made knives out of it. So humans using technology or tools is a thing we're doing since thousands or hundreds of ages, and today they became a big part in our daily life. And technology is optimizing within the years, so it's becoming smarter, smaller, and also closer to our body, and also cheaper, so that makes it more accessible to all the people around us. And that's why we're saying, or that's why Kurt von Mansford, he is philosophy, and he's dealing with the term next nature. So next nature means this is a discipline where people are looking at the term nature and try to figure out what does it mean. So nature could be seen as the things that were here from the beginning of the earth, but we as human change the world, and the question is what can be still seen as nature or as natural. For example, if we were taking two plants and would mix them and create a new plant out of it, is this still nature or not? And this is basically the theory behind next nature. What are the experts are looking at that? And Kurt von Mansford, he's also one of those, and he's also a philosophy, and he says human live in co-evolution with technology. So that means that we as humans, we created knives, and then we could construct something new, and then that changed in the end the nature again. So for example, we first made tools like a knife, and then we could make glasses for us, and then we could use them, and nature and or human and technology, they enhanced themselves within the time. So the better tools we made, the better we became with the time, and the better tools we can also make with the tools. And within the cyborg design topic, we created some kind of thesis, and the first thesis is that cyborg-centered designs means, in general, that we shape the future relationship between humans and machine. So by this co-evolution and by this co-alignment, we are becoming closer, and we becoming more connected, humans and machine. And this is moving now in the center of design, because when we are designing for humans, and the cyborg is moving in the phrase of human-centered design, it could be also like the cyborg is moving then into it. And what does cyborg mean? Cyborg is a term that is made out of two terms. So it's cybernetic and organism. And cybernetic is coming from a theory where now the English word is lacking. It's a theory that explains coming closer to the optimal. So for example, when you look at a ship that is driving to a specific point, and the waves are going against the ship. So the ship is trying to go against the ship and making these curves, and within coming closer to this one point, to the goal he wants to drive to, these waves that it's turning are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, and so it's coming closer to the optimum, to the goal itself, and that means cybernetic, so coming closer to the optimum. And organism could be meant like humans, but also could be plants. This could be something you could also work on, or animals. So also animals could turn into this optimized being. There is also a difference between android and an android and a cyborg. So an android is technology that becomes more human-like. So for example, this is the robot Sophia, and she is, I think, the first citizenship, which has in her passport, I think, in Saudi Arabia, and she is the first official citizenship as a robot, and she can react, and she can give answers, and she can also make some movements and some facial emotions she can transfer. And this is this shift from technology more human-like. And what we are looking at, the cyborg, is from human-like to more technology-like. So for example, on the right side, you see Neil Harbison, and he's colorblind from the moment he was born on. And he implanted an antenna in his head, and the sensor on the front is measuring the color tones and transferring it into melodies, into tones. And so he's not seeing colors, but he's hearing colors. And different faces have different melodies for him. And he is also like the robot Sophia. He's also the first official allowed cyborg, because he also has his antenna officially on his ID picture and in the passport, which was, I think, a milestone. And we also need to divide a bit about the definition or the reasons why people become cyborgs or why people enhance themselves with technology. So the first level is the restoration. So that means, for example, this is Bertolt Meyer, and he wasn't born just with one arm. So I think his arm goes until here, and all his nerves are healthy in his upper arm. And his prosthetic is a restorational part. So most humans have two arms, so it's kind of made to give him the same equal possibilities like everyone is having. And the prosthetic gives him then the ability also to grab things. And it's funny because he can unplug his hand and he can plug another thing on it, and he makes music with it. So it looks like for example, a Raspberry Pi he has on it, and then there are cables connected to his DJ set, and then he makes music with his mentality. So how he is constructing his muscles in the arm, he's doing then music with in the end. So when we talk about the restoration, it's often a kind of a therapy where we try to reconstruct human parts. The next level is the optimization. So here you see the sportler Oscar Pistorius, and he also was born without no legs. And that's why he's also known as the fastest man with no legs, because he has these carbon prosthetics. And some might think, or some argue with, that he might be faster with those prosthetics than human can naturally be, because it's maybe having more pressure behind it, and that's why it's pushing him more. So if we talk about that you can do something better, then it would normally be, then we talk about the optimization. And the third level is the enhancement. So when we talk about Neil Harbison again, he has this new feature, this new sense, and that's when we then go into the level of enhancement, when you really gain new possibilities and gain new new possibilities. So you can maybe see that there is also a little bit not different levels of reasons, but also different levels on how far these technologies go. And that's why we talk about, when we talk about the cyborg, we talk about the process of cyborgization, because it's quite vague from which moment a human can be called a cyborg. Some definitions already talk about it when we wear glasses. So I think there were some with glasses in our workshop. So some people would define you already as a cyborg because you enhance your viewing with the technology, the glass. So this is then a quite static technology, and that's where it begins. So when we say human is more transferring into a cyborg, it starts with like simpler technologies like the glasses or the computers, which are static technologies around us, and then technology becomes more mobile. And became more mobile, like we having the phones with us, and that are giving us more capabilities. Like, for example, when we open maps on our phone, we have the knowledge. We become knowledgeable about where to find something, and we gain new knowledge. And with now all these smart watches and everything, we really have the wearables around us. And the next level is then the augmentation. So that means that technology is really merging into the body. So for example, there are people having chips under their skin, and I will also soon show you some different kind of technologies around the cyborg. But augmentation means that it's technology is more melting with the body. And the last step before the full cyborgization process is somehow finished, it's the transcendence. And that actually means that you cannot see or recognize anymore if there is a difference between human and machine. So they both appear and seem to be so similar that you cannot really divide or can say, or maybe there's also in the end not really a true origin there anymore. So when we are so merged with technology, are we then humans? Are we then technology? Or is this then really the fulfilled cyborg? So another thesis is that cyborg-centered design can be seen as a tool to prepare human-centered design for possible human developments. So when we are designing right now for humans and we use in the same time the term cyborg-centered design, we talk about our perspective, how we define a cyborg from today. But maybe if we would define a cyborg tomorrow, it would look different because there are new things invented, new viewpoints existing. So that's why cyborg-centered design is always a term that defines another kind of cyborg. The more we go into the future, and it's always looking at possible human developments. Then I would give you a little intro about what kind of cyborg technologies are existing. And I'm not 100% an expert into all the technologies, but I want to give you more an overview about what directions are existing to that you see which body parts can be affected, and what is already established, and what is more going into research. And we start with the most established things. So on the left side you see always a reference to where this technology is linked in the body. So we have here the prosthetics, And in this case, it's an endo-exo prosthetic, so that means that it's not just plugged on the top, so that it's really into the body, and it's in there forever until you decide to put it out again. But it's it's put in by surgery, and so that people have can start or can walk again. And this is the arm we've already seen from Berthold Meyer, and I think this is a little bit better to see how this is actually working. So this is not directly connected to a part that is put in by surgery, so you can more plug it on and off the whole arm. And it has some electrodes, the whole prosthetic in the lower arm, and it can read what kind of muscles are contracted or are like moving within the lower arm. So since this part, I think from this part, this is missing, the muscles are still existing, and when the person thinks, I want to move now my finger, but it's not there, the muscles are still reacting and they can train it. And the prosthetic is reading this information out of it. And one fun fact is that he can actually, and that's then also an optimization, he can actually turn his hand by 360 degrees. So it looks really funny, and he can endless turn it around. So then we go into the body. Implants, electrical implants, like for example now I don't have the English word, the thing in the heart that makes the heart beat again, but it could be also stimulating movements in the back so that you can move again, or when your lungs is not working. So electric stimulation within the body by implants is also a thing that is used already for several ages. This is Enno Park. He is an official, or he calls himself also an official cyborg, and he's also founder of a community called Cyborg, Cyborgs EV. It's a German one, and he is author and journalist, and he's also writing and a lot about the topic of enhancement. And he has this cochlear implant already for a long time, and he's able to hear with that. So there's also a part within the brain that is connected to the brain, and then it can be plugged magnetically, and the other end of the other technology, and is then connected to the ear. So it takes what's coming into the ear and then transferring the information directly to the brain. And people that are having this kind of implant, they are saying that they really enjoy it when they can plug it off, so that they hear nothing anymore. And I think that's also a thing where cyborgs could be seen in not only enhancing and getting new senses, but also plugging senses on, and by that maybe also making other senses more sensible or better. So maybe if he doesn't hear anymore, maybe he trains then smelling better or something like that. So this could be also a thing where it could be seen on the other side. And these kind of neuro implants, so the cochlear implant was a neuro implant, they are not only used for people that they can hear again, but it could be also used for brain diseases, for example, like epileptic or Parkinson, or if you have depressions. Or researchers also figuring out how stimulation can change that, and how they can maybe replace broken nerves or stimulate them. And one of those implants is also, some of those implants are also connected to a so-called exoskeleton. So this woman is wearing a skeleton that she can also, with her brain, move all her body parts, and she can then walk again. And this whole connection from brain to something out of the brain, it has a name, so it calls brain to computer interface, so BCI. So that means that a brain is connected to a computer, and that computer is doing something with that information, for example, in this case, steering the exoskeleton. And there was actually a person, I don't know, I think in 2018, that run a marathon with this kind of exoskeleton, and that person needed around 36 hours for 42 kilometers. I think that's quite a nice success what these things can bring to humanity. Another things are NFC chips. So chips that are implanted under the skin, and there are in Sweden so-called chipping parties where different kind of people meet, and then there is coming someone who makes normally tattoos and is coming with this big needle. It looks a bit brutal, and I think I also watched videos about it. It's a bit bloody in the beginning, and then they put in this NFC chip, and sometimes there is information stored on it, like contact information or virtual keys. So for example, a friend of mine here in Munich, he's also doing a lot with self-enhancement, but also with mixing drinks and trying things out with some superfood. And he exchanged his lock on the door with this scanner, and when he comes closer to his door, he also said it works not really well, but when he comes closer, it identifies him with a chip, and then he can open the door. And I think in New Zealand there was also this one case where this was a law case because a person took from the public transport card the chip and decided to implant it because they are scanning it there, and it worked fine for him. But when there was then the control people coming and wanted to see his actual card, he didn't have it with him because it was chipped and under the skin, so he couldn't show it. And so this became the first law case. And here's Neil Harbison again. I like this picture because it shows how he experiences colors. So he's really wearing extravagant mixtures because he's hearing it and it sounds for him in a beautiful way. And the implant on his head is called Cyborg. And he also said sometimes different faces, so people who look for us quite different hear for him the same. So he compared some different celebrities, and it was funny that some people who actually don't look any similar to each other sound for him the same. This is another wearable, and I think it's also somehow implanted partly under the skin. It's called the North Hints, and when people turn to north, it's starting vibrating. So whenever I would turn it now to north, my body realized, okay, there is something, and that's where we or where the wearers get the sense for north. And when you wear it for a longer time, they say, and then put it away, they say that you can still feel. This is Think, and it's an electrode. It's put on the bottom and on the back of the head, and it can change your mood. So it's connected to an app, and it really works. You can push a button, and then it says like energy, and then you really get energy. And when you put another button like relaxation, you get tired. And there was also an author, a woman that tested it, and she said when she came back home and came back to her wife, and she tested it for some days, her wife really said like she looked different. So her face somehow changed because of this changing of the whole body mood. These kind of tattoos are electronic tattoos, and they're in research right now because they still have problems to think about how can they be how can the electronical system can get power. I think that's in general a problem with the technologies, that because they are coming to the body and they're becoming smaller, they don't know how to give them power and how to charge them. So that's why many things are not as far as they maybe could already be. And there could be, for example, a sensor that is realizing for people that are having diabetes what the blood sugar is, or it could also maybe turn the color and become an interface and should show some information on the body. So these electronic tattoos could become also could get also their different functions. So another thesis is now cyborg-centered design means to use the body as an interface. So the body turns into an interface. And within the master thesis, we worked on two design potentials. One is the Internet of Cyborg. So when a body becomes more technology-like, it becomes also connected to the environment, and it could become connected to the internet, and that's why it's becoming also part of the internet. So we have the Internet of Things, so connected things. And then the body becomes also part of this connection. And with that, there could be new communication channels there, and as well as using the body as an interface is then an opportunity to make that interactive and usable in the end. And for that, we created some GIFs, and those GIFs could be now in the end also a thing that you are doing, but maybe also an animation movie. But these GIFs are showing different kind of opportunity areas. So now we go a little bit in what might be possible when a cyborg becomes a connected being within the environment. And the one on the top shows maybe these chips, but in the end, it's not necessarily about the true technology behind it and if it's possible. So it's more what we can do with it. So, for example, the question would be, how do cyborgs interact with each other, and what kind of new communication channels come up? So maybe something could be transferred with a handshake, which is already possible with these chips. And the lower right one is then the interaction with products. So, for example, what we have today is this connection that you open a door. So how can the body be used in interaction with intelligent products in his environment? And the middle lowercase is a scenario when someone is driving a car and it's losing the it's fallen out of presence, and the car could automatically slow down. So how can body, environment, and technology work together with each other, and how can things be then also maybe prevented? And the last one is the left one. So it's about gestures or interactions within the body itself. So for example, when you think about the information of that my mom is calling now is appearing on my skin, and then I transform this information and I bring it with a touch to my ear. So I take the call and put it to my ear that I can hear it in there. So how can the body interactions and gestures could be used? And then another opportunity area is that the body is becoming an interface itself. So we talked before, I talked about more interactions of information, and now this is about natural and maybe intuitive interfaces. So for example, one opportunity area is to use the body as an information display, like I talked with the call, or like showing the time, or showing what is my status of blood sugar. But the status of blood sugar could be also maybe faked, and that's on the upper right, with maybe a faked stimulation, or when you sometimes feel your stomach when you get hungry, it could be also stimulated with the same reaction, but telling you should eat no sugar because your body is an under sugar. And the middle one is, for example, how can the body be used as an interaction platform, or like interaction space. So for example, when you hear something with an implant in your ear, how you can maybe turn the volume up and down within that, or you can switch to the next song or whatever. And then the last opportunity area is how natural reference points could be used. For example, if you normally get the pulse on your wrist, you could also get the information from there, or like bringing the call to the ear and all the things. So that's that are basically some inspirations for using the body as an interface, and you could use that later within working it out, maybe in a scenario, if you want to get a bit more closer to the body. So some things like that, or some ideas could be used. What I showed before was more technologies which are in research right now, or which are almost existing, and now it's going some examples about future cyborg technology, which is also in research right now, but not really as we can say that it can be used soon or tomorrow. So one is synthetic body parts. So for example, lenses like eye lenses to replicate them, or to build organs, and that's the 3D bioprinting, and of course we can think about reconstructing it, but also maybe about getting new parts in our body. Another thing is biosensors. So this is an implant which is in your body, and it's called it's called theragnostic implant. So it's combined from the words therapy and diagnostic. So what this implant is doing, it's measuring the blood sugar. So it's diagnosing the amount of blood sugar in your blood. And by the blood flowing through the implant, it's measuring it and calculating at the same time in some bio ways that I'm not deeply into, what amount of medicine it has to give, and it's giving the blood out with the right amount of medicine. So it's doing the diagnosis and the therapy at the same time, and it's giving them the perfect amount of insulin, and people are technically then healed. But of course, when the body comes into lower blood sugar, you still have to know that you should eat sugar to bring your blood sugar higher. Then one interesting thing is nanobots, so robots within our body and within our blood. And those are little autonomous machines, and they are used in the medicine or they could be used in the medicine to bring medicaments to the right place in the body, so that it's not going through everywhere. For example, when you think about cancer, and these cancer medicine is going everywhere in the body and destroying also other parts. And if it would go now only to the tumor itself. And it could also give researchers also thinking about use cases like you can get the status quo of cells or of organs, and could learn about how healthy your body is. And right now the research is about finding out what is the best way also to make them smaller, but also to make them flowing through the body, because of the reason that it's so small, it's hard to define a way of movement. And they are trying with magnetic fields, but also with origami. So like folding and unfolding different parts and then moving and swimming a little bit through the blood by that. But there are also so-called xenobots, and this is a living robot system made out of cells. So they took cells from frogs, heart and skin cells from them, and they managed it. So they really made it to program the living cells, and now they can also go through the body in a modeled way, and can move into specific like you see here. So they simulated it on the top, and then they recreated it in the real, and it's also moving like it was generated in advance. And then we talked already about this neuro enhancement and these implants that are already existing to change parts of the brain, but the overall goal of neuroscience is to understand the brain. And when we are in this, when we are able to understand the brain, of course, there could be good use cases like trying to prevent this disease when old people forget things, but it could be also used to enhance and give more storage to the brain, and what would be capable to do. And there's also this term of a new kind of society that could come up with this and could be created with that, and that only rich people can then maybe be able to bring their brain into new levels and could be better than others. So and also not talking about what kind of medical medical problems might occur, or there are many risks coming with that, but also many opportunities, and it's, I think, a hard but also interesting field. And then also one part is the genetic enhancement. So with things like CRISPR and all the things with the technology that you can cut out some DNA and cut in some healthy DNA, some unhealthy DNA and cut in some healthy DNA, or like change something. Research is trying to make to cut together the optimal human, and there could be also a huge gap, and be not knowing what kind of bad effects this enhancement might also have in the long term if people change their DNA. So that's why cyborg-centered design is also a temporary term to draw attention to that whole topic until the cyborg is the norm. So by using not the term human-centered design, but cyborg-centered design, it shows, okay, there's something different, and it brings attention to the topic. But as the cyborg definition is like changing, and the cyborg is becoming more human or not, it's very temporary how we define it.